Welcome back to the coverage of YCS Madrid 2014. That was a long break.
Yes, it was.
Because the last match between Joshua Schmidt and Jens Eckert was just over in a rush with
pretty much.
Clean swipe 2-0-6 Samurai over Shadol.
Yeah, here in YCS Milan, I'm thinking that there's probably quite a lot of decks that are just trying to kind of push it a little bit, which isn't going to work against decks like Qliphort. Because if you let it go too long against Qliphort, you're going to lose. Basically, that's the general gist of that deck.
Right. You can tell we are having a good time. We hope you are having a good time too. We got 1,460 players in competition today, making this the largest event of this year.
Yes.
And also the second largest ever in Europe. My name is Oliver Gurman. I'm your host for the weekend, and I'm joined here by Rob Grayson-Hooley, who is our resident expert. Almost from the Konami offices. You're doing the organized play for the UK.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So the big story of the weekend, going into the weekend, is the new decks. The new deck, Qliphort, going up against the two decks that have been proved and tested and done quite well, Burning Abyss and, of course, Shadol. As we just said, one of the older decks, Six Samurai, dismounting the Shadols.
Last round, Six Samurai completely destroying Shadol.
Now for something different, we got the baby Raccoons going up against Qliphort now.
It's interesting. I've not seen Raccoon for, well, the last time I saw Raccoon was Berlin.
Something like that,
so
yeah.
It's been quite a while since we've seen them being played. And actually, this one's doing quite well. I believe it's
2-0 at the moment.
So
Federico Ingargiola is doing quite well with the deck, and it's his first YCS. He's, of course, an Italian, as you can tell by the name. Hometown hero. He's got this advantage working for him, and he's going up against John Michael Papagni. Some of you might be familiar with that guy. He's from Germany, and he's made it to the top cut quite a few times before. He's always very close to the tops, and one of the nicest guys at the YCS, in my personal opinion. Very nice guy, very friendly.
The baby Raccoon deck, very, very kind of interesting to still be playing. It works a lot on just kind of special summoning themselves and being able to make bigger guys. A lot of synchro monsters as well, because Junk Synchron's in here also.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of just what you'd expect. Go-Yo Guardian, Black Rose Dragon, Junk Warrior. It'd be nice to see Junk Warrior making an appearance as well, because it's been a long time since we've seen anybody be able to play it.
What is going through your head when you're going to a tournament? You're like, okay, these are the big three decks. I'm gonna prepare with one of these three decks, and I'm going to prepare for the matchups against either the same deck or against the other two decks. And then you're sitting down in the feature match area, and your opponent is putting something on the table which you've never seen before.
Well, they may have seen it in the past, but it's still just kind of ridiculous to be sitting down with your Qliphort deck, waiting to go against Burning Abyss or Shadol, and then suddenly just to see a baby Raccoon Pompoko hit the field. It's going to be interesting. It'd be nice to see the look on the player's face.
You have to shift gears and fast. Like if you take too much time figuring out what the opponent's deck is doing, because you haven't been seeing it in a while, you might have already lost the game.
Pretty much.
It's like when you're going up against Six Samurai, which you really didn't expect, and then suddenly there's a gigantic monster on the field and attacking to you.
Well, as we actually was described this to us as a fabled deck. There is one fabled card that's being ran in it, so you could call it a fabled deck, I guess. It's been a long time
Technically, that's correct, yes.
It's been a long time since we've seen fabled, which is the Dark World that is easier to play, is what I like to think of it as. Because it's Dark World that doesn't matter how you discard the card. It doesn't matter if it's by cost or by not.
Yeah, exactly. No missing the timing or anything like that.
Which is kind of basically what's happening with all of the decks these days as well. It almost feels like Shadol and Burning Abyss have become a bit like Dark World, because it doesn't matter. As long as you're getting them in the graveyard, it's all good. It's all good. This Qliphort is actually going to be running Qliphort Shell as well.
Qliphort, one of the big decks, and making use of the Pendulum Summon, the new mechanic that we also explained earlier, because we had a Qliphort mirror in the very first feature match of the day, where slightly one-sided it seemed, because one player found his scout, the other player did not. Found
nothing.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, exactly nothing. So that was pretty much it. Very short matches we had so far.
Pretty much. I mean, I can see that John is really looking at mirror matches from what I can see in here. He's running, and he's running a shadow. He's going to be running a shadow and prisoner mirror in the side, which isn't going to help him. I'm looking at this side deck right now, and I can see that there is nothing there to prepare him for this matchup.
Yeah. John is playing the skill drain version of the Qliphort archetype. Is that going to do any good against the baby Raccoons?
It probably will do, yes. Stopping, you're just going to stop them straight in the tracks, basically. But because they're still going to be able to bring out bigger guys, just because that doesn't stop you from synchro summoning.
Right.
Of course.
So what does John want to draw into early on? He wants to have a skill drain. He wants to have Vanity's Emptiness, maybe?
Honestly, with Qliphort, it doesn't really matter as long as you're drawing into a scout and the ability to be able to make that massive one turn.
What about Federico on the other hand?
It's really, really interesting, and Baby Raccoons is another deck that I've not come up against in quite a while. So it's more basically he's going to be looking, trying getting out his Ronin Raccoon Sandio. Obedient Schooled is going to be a massive help to him for that. And Ares Rock Sunrise, which was a card that came out in Dragons of Legend, which is, I believe it's a field spell card. I will just check on that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since.
So yeah, as you guys can see, we got a lot of paper here. This is already half a rainforest already.
Yeah.
Which is just the first 2 rounds and this round's pairing, because like we said before, 1,460 players. Quite a few of those, around 50 or 60 or so, are still in the running for the Traveler of the Burning Abyss.
Yes.
Special thingy that we're running, so they can win exclusive playmat, which you're also going to see on the feature match table. And you get that when you were attending all of the YCSs.
All of the European YCSs this year, yes. We do actually still have Sydney to go at the end of this year.
Right.
We've actually had 2 YCSs in Sydney this year, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the first.
Nice.
Going to the same city twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
But well deserved with that numbers that Sydney put up. Yeah. Right. So we do have a player overview. All right, we can focus. Oh yes, we got. I've just been told by the technical crew, we got the cards on our app, which we can put up on the right-hand side of the screen. Once we go to the feature match table, and I'm not quite sure if we're gonna switch there now. Just give us a second. All right. So we have some technical difficulties, which we can. This is 101 with an iPad. And yeah, now we're good, I think. We got... There we go.
Now, right. I have just got Ares Rock Sunrise's effect up on what I've got here.
Right.
What it actually does is you can target 1 beast-type monster in your graveyard, special summon it, and all face-up monsters your opponent controls loses 200 attack for each of the beasts that you've got in your graveyard. So it's going to reduce all of the attacks down, right down.
All right. So this is Federico's hand.
And I believe that was a Baby Raccoon on Poco.
Yes.
That's just been played
there.
There
we go. Here we go. All right. So John is still waiting for his first turn. Yes. He just drew into his 6th card. Whereas Federico kicked things off with the Ponpoco.
And John there just dropped a max C just to make sure that he was getting the most out of his opponent there.
Right.
Mistake has been played as well.
Yes, when Mistake is a card we haven't seen in a while. And so you guys will see the cards on the right-hand side in just a second again.
Of course, Mistake being a massive, massive loss to John there, with Qliphort not being able to use its scout at all.
Yes, so it seems like the Raccoon deck came prepared for Qliphort here.
Yeah, definitely.
So he summons the carrier and attacks over Ponpoco, and I mean, Ponpoco already got Federico some value, so he doesn't mind losing that card too much.
The Tantan has come down.
All right, so this is the hand that John is still holding on to.
Vanity's Emptiness is going to be quite a harsh blow there, especially when he tries to flip that Tantan face up.
All right, and 3 back row cards for John with a Trap Stun, a Skill Drain, and a Vanity's Emptiness. He's more than prepared here.
Yeah, now
That's
the
a
Tantan's
powerful
flipping
back
up, and there goes the Skill Drain rather than the Vanity's Emptiness, making sure there that he is going to be able to bring out his own monsters during his turn.
That was very important for him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the hand of Federico, he's got 2 copies of Wind Up Kitten, and as well as a Valeri Fawn, Mystical Beast of the Forest, and a Calantosa, which is also a Mystical Beast of the Forest. And you can tell that once cards are coming down, immediately John is like, what are they doing? He's not very familiar with this deck.
No.
And who can blame him?
I mean, the Valeri Fauna is going to be able to get the... Oh, well, he was going to be able to get a Pompaka from the graveyard. Oh, except Skill Drains there, so I'm not quite sure why he needed to play the Vanity's Emptiness there. Although he may have just felt the need to make sure that his opponent definitely isn't going to be able to special summon anything. Now,
yeah, it seems like he's locking himself out of some plays, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit. Now there goes the Sacrifice down. Just reading the Sacrifice there. Oh, it was a Calantosa that he played, not the Valeri Fauna.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't special summoned.
Yeah, he's just making sure that he doesn't get the Xyz.
Exceed summon, okay. Yeah, we're so focused on the other effects that we don't even think of the normal Exceed summon.
Yeah.
All right. So John did draw into a Maxi, which is holding on to his field.
It's currently
lots and lots of back rows.
Yeah, it's currently just completely looking down. Looking down Frederico there.
Right, so Federico did draw. I think we don't have the card yet. Yeah, it's going to come up in just a second with our volunteers. It's the Trap Stun. That goes face down immediately, which is not that surprising. And now he's in a pretty bad position.
He's in a very bad position. He kind of just has to sit on there and just hope that that Vanity's Emptiness is just gone.
Yeah,
very soon.
This is an alternative game plan of the Qliphort archetype, really. Even without the Scout, you just put a big beat stick on the field, flip the Skill Drain, deny your opponent his monster's effects, and keep attacking, because he's eventually going to run out of cards.
Yeah. Skill Drain plus
Vanity's Emptiness. It's almost
Skill
like
Drain
a burn deck, really.
Any Qliphort, because you're still... That's one of the beauties about Qliphort, is that you don't have to special summon. You can normal summon, and under a Skill Drain, because Skill Drain isn't affecting the cards in your hand, you're just normal summoning big monsters.
All right, there's the Trap Stun. So Federico tries to buy himself this one turn where the effects of trap cards are not working. And John doesn't have anything to stop that, really. So for this one turn, Federico has opened a window of opportunity, and now he has to make the most of it.
He's just got a wind-up kitten set there. I believe he's played the Valeri Fauna there as well.
Right, so now he's checking the contents of his graveyard real quick, and again, I don't want to say a dispute between the players, but they are, how are the cards working, it appears?
There you're just discarding one. He's able to discard one card, special summon one level 2 or lower beast type monster from his graveyard.
Yeah, and the judge reading over the card and explaining it to John, who is again checking his face down cards, but as we can see here, there's a Forbidden Chalice not doing that much, not stopping his opponent from...
Well, it can, because Forbidden Chalice actually negates the effect, and there it goes. He's basically negated the effect after the cost has been paid as well.
Oh, right. So it's like a mini Skill Drain in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically a spell version. It does give you plus 400 attack, but Valeri Fauna is so small that that just really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now,
and still with his big carrier on the field, which has 2,400 attack, of course.
Well, not... Oh, yes, actually, because, of course, even though it's negated, it still keeps its attack. Now, Wind-Up Kitten there has been flipped face up, which is returning the carrier back to hand. And Sacrifice goes to the graveyard.
And that allows John to search his deck, and now he's got the Scout.
Yeah.
So it looks like the pieces are falling into all the right places for Chon here, whereas Federico is really crippled by the skill drain and the Forbidden Chalice now.
Now he can still go and get his rank 2, which he's doing now. Let's see what he's playing. Okay, he's playing a Daigusto Phoenix, which can attack twice, I believe, if it's that particular card's effect.
Right, and what is going through the head of Federico here? Like,
I think he's just trying to get little bits of damage off as much as he can.
The
So
Qliphort deck, of course, does burn through quite a few life points, especially with skill drain also in that deck, with the carrier costing him 800 life points turn after turn.
Down drops a Downer Magician. Just get something a little bit bigger out.
Yeah, and that's a card that you will you're fast familiar with when you're playing at this level of competition.
Yeah,
because both the Burning Abyss archetype as well as anything else that can exceed summon to one of the smaller ranked monsters goes for Donut Magician very often. So let's bring that card up for you guys on the right hand side. Here we go. Lots and lots of text. You don't tend to exceed summon it in the usual way. You always use one of your lower ranked exceed monsters. And here's a John going for the Qliphort Scout.
Okay, he's paying 800, but a Mistake is still on the field.
Let's
just bring Mistake up there.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that I'm correct in that.
It's also a card that we haven't been seeing too often.
But very interesting because it does.
So he should not be allowed to search. Should he?
No.
All right, now the question is, will the judges be able to spot that mistake? And because also for the judges it's quite hard. They have to. We actually don't have a table judge there.
We do. Now the table judge actually has to stand quite far away from the table, so it wouldn't surprise me that he couldn't see if he wouldn't be able to see the cards. Now Trampolinx is coming down, and he's XE summoning. Trampolinx is going back to hand. Well, Scout's coming back to hand because of the Trampolinx. He can play the Scout again, and he's paying another 800.
800.
Now that's quite interesting because Vanity's Emptiness is also still on the field there. I do believe that Trapstun is only for the one turn and was played.
Yeah, the Trapstun was last turn during Federico's turn, and yeah, this is a very big deal for Chon. He can unleash all the power of the Qliphort archetype here, and Federico can't really do anything to stop him, apart from, well, relying on the mistake that's already on the field, unless we're missing something here. All right, and now there's a... I think Chon is currently... So now he gets rid of mistake?
He's tributed a Helix there, basically letting him destroy the mistake. Well, the Trapstun is there in the graveyard as well.
Did Chon activate a Trapstun?
Yeah, no, John must have activated that Trapstun there. We may have just missed that play. There is one directly in his graveyard there. So that does make sense.
All right. Why did we never see the Trapstun?
I don't know. I didn't see it get played.
All right. Well, good that the judges are actually paying more attention than either we do or we simply... So, Chon finds a Trapstun. Something we mentioned prior to the game, that Trapstun is so good with Vanity's Emptiness. And just like Federico found the window of opportunity the turn before and him flipping the Trapstun, Chon did the very same thing on his turn, gaining his own skill drain, his own...
Vanity's Emptiness.
Let
him just attack for
and
the
his
win.
opponent's mistake. And suddenly he turns the table around. My God, what a confusing match.
Yeah. Yeah. It does look like it was just a error with our app there, where it wasn't actually shown to us that it was on the field.
Yeah.
So we didn't catch that there. Very sorry.
I
about
guess
that.
that's the problem if you're looking at the app too much and you're not looking at the actual screen. Then sometimes you're so focused on making sure that you guys can see the contents of the hands of the players and what cards we can put up on the focus on the right hand side, that we are actually missing one or two key plays here.
Now, again, siding in against this, what have we got? We've got a Night Beam, which is going to be extremely helpful for John now, knowing that Mistake is going to be played against him. Other than that, there isn't a massive amount that he would want to side in, unless he feels that Raigeki would be an appropriate choice, especially with his opponent being able to special summon so many level 2 monsters there.
Yeah. What about Federico? I mean, he must come prepared for this matchup.
He's got a Thunder King Ryo.
He's got a Diffusion, which is mostly useful against Shadol, but
Yep.
not so much against Qliphort.
That's correct, yep. I believe that's a Max C, and that would probably come in as well, just to
Yes.
make sure that he can get... Oh, and I would have to read the text on it, actually, but he does have a Macrocosmos there. Now, if Macrocosmos says that it is just from... If it stops it going in the graveyard... Just checking.
Yeah, Macrocosmos, one of the cards that used to make... Well, it even spawned an entire archetype.
You know, that wouldn't work against this deck. I just hope that Frederico knows that as well. Simply because the Pendulum monsters are not going to the graveyard, they won't get removed from
They're
play.
instead going to the extra deck, face up to the extra deck. All right, so both players apparently are done sideboarding. And it looks like Federico is going first, I guess.
Just making sure that all of the
Cards
field
are in
layouts
the
are
right
correct.
zones, yeah. There was a time when this wasn't playing too much of a role, but now with the pendulum zones on the left and right hand side, it's a lot more important that players are keeping their cards in their respective zones, so you can actually tell if it's a monster or a spell card.
Yeah. Now, Frederico has a very interesting opening hand there with 2 Fairy Winds and Mystical Space Typhoon and Raigeki, so he is well equipped to deal with whatever John is going to throw at him.
Yep, and we're gonna have his, there you go, this is his hand at the start of the turn, but as you can tell, he already...
And down comes the Denko Sekka.
Set a few monsters, and Denko Sekka is one of the, I would say, breakout cards this week, and we're gonna see this card quite a bit.
Yeah.
People are saying it's like a cold wave on legs.
It basically is.
And some strong legs for that matter, with 1,700 attack. So a Denko Sekka, as long as you don't control any set spell or trap cards, neither player can set spell or trap cards or activate them.
Yep.
The ones that are set. So the whole back row of Federico here, Mystical Space Typhoon and 2 copies of Fairy Wind, is completely dead as long as
completely
Denko
useless.
Sekka stays on the field.
Yeah.
And this is a very big deal for John. Like,
Now, it is... Well, let's just have a look at what's in John's hand there.
yeah, there we go.
He's got 2 Pot of Duality, so he's not expecting to special summon this turn. He's just got into his Summoner's Art. If he does take that, it would be the choice for him because he doesn't have the Scout in hand.
Yeah, and then he can search for the Scout and
That's
go
correct, yeah.
searching a few more times. And this looks like a very strong setup for John here. He immediately adds the Summoner's Art. I'm very certain that our volunteers that are entering the cards, he immediately put down Summoner's Art as next card in hand. So there you go with Summoner's Art.
There's Summoner's Art, and it's coming out.
It's a little bit like a reinforcement for the army, but for normal monsters with level 5 rather than a warrior monster with level 4 or lower.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know if that was the best comparison, to be honest.
Well,
It's a
Reinforcement
searcher.
Army has a lot more usage other than just getting the 1 card.
Yes.
Now, Denko Sekka's still on the field there.
So Mystical Space Typhoon can not stop John from resolving the effect of the Scout.
Nope.
And now he's gonna get to search his deck one more time and add a Qli card to his hand. What is he going for here?
Probably.
He's got a carrier
What's he
and a
got in his
disc in hand.
He's got a carrier and disc. He also has a sacrifice as well. There's very little he actually kind of needs now. What he's probably going to look for is just something that's got a pendulum scale of 1, just to be able to do it. Although he is going for a sacrifice instead. Something tells me he may be thinking of playing his carrier.
Just
so that he's got it ready. Oh, he's just attacking with Denko.
Yeah, I mean, he can bide his time here. He's in a pretty good spot.
What he doesn't know is that Frederico has a Raigeki ready and waiting to get rid of it.
Yeah. Does it feel like a waste when you're using Raigeki on just one monster?
In a situation like this, no, because you need to get rid of that monster.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're going to be in a really poor position.
Right, so,
especially when you've got 2 Fairy Winds face down against a Qliphort deck that you can't play.
Yeah. So he's
oh, the judge is just coming in and
checking
reading
the effect of... he asked, does it prevent me from activating spell cards? I would guess.
It doesn't prevent just activating spell cards in general.
And he already, you can tell his hand is on that Raigeki. So, yeah, and he's going to activate that, of course. So there is the Raigeki for 1. And he's got a mistake again in hand. The card that caused so much trouble in the last match.
And he's just letting him go, which is very interesting. Now,
I mean,
let's see.
Maybe I can't imagine John thinking that, that's I can just unleash my plays now. He must expect that there's something sitting in the back row of Federico.
Yeah. There's no reason to waste a Raigeki if you don't need to. Now he's using Scout's Effect, and is he going to use the Fairy Wind, or is he going to use the Mystical Space Typhoon? Actually, he's using the Mistake, which also is probably actually much better. He's not wasting his options.
Right, because Mistake does stay on the field.
Yeah.
And
he's had to... Now, without getting rid of the Scout as well, it means that he's not going to be able to just play another one.
Yeah, that's definitely the best play here. So I think Federico came prepared.
Okay, disc into the Pendulum Zone. Which is going to allow him to Pendulum Summon.
And now would be the time for
would be the time for Fairy Wind.
Yeah.
Or Mystical Space Typhoon to get rid of the disc.
That's
actually, this is actually a really interesting way to do it, because he's
yeah,
forcing
otherwise
him
he would
play
lose his
again.
own Mistake. Because it says destroy all other face-up spell and trap cards on the field.
Yeah. But he's forcing him to have to play his other cards as well. It's just making him go over and over again, have to make sure that he's playing it. Now, he does actually have 2 Fairy Winds down as well, so that wouldn't be as big a blow, because he has the ability to possibly empty John's hand this turn. So there's the Fairy Wind. Gets rid of the Sacrifice, gets rid of the...
But he also gets rid of his own Mistake now.
Yeah.
Now I'm questioning that play that I originally thought was the better play with flipping the Mistake first.
That should be 1,500 damage to each player.
Right, let's read the Fairy Wind one more time.
Yeah, it destroys all face-up spell and trap cards on the field. Both players take damage equal... Oh, it's 300, not 500. I'm thinking of Spell Shattering Arrow there. So
it's not quite that devastating. But is Fairy Wind the better choice than the Spell Shattering Arrow?
Simply because you can play it in your opponent's turn.
Oh, okay.
So Spell Shattering Arrow is nice to have, but it's not the be-all and end-all.
It isn't Spell Shattering Arrow a quick play?
Oh, it's a quick play.
Yeah.
Sorry, yep. So it's interesting, basically. Although Spell Shattering Arrow is only spells, I believe, as well.
Yes.
So he won't get rid of the skill drain.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason that he obviously expects both these cards, Vanity's Emptiness and Skill Drain. So, yeah, interesting. But maybe with 2 Fairy Winds face down, you first flip the Fairy Wind when the Scout is searching, and then you wait for the second Scout, and then you can still flip Mistake.
Yeah, that probably would have been an easier way around.
I mean, you guys probably know better than us. So you can also leave your comment and start a conversation in the Twitch chat, of course, and well, get some knowledge going here and have some strategic talk. So
There
here,
you go. Scout comes out, the Sacrifice and the Scout is going, but that does mean that he's still going to get his search from the Sacrifice.
yes. So in the end, all is well that ends well for Federico here.
Pretty much.
He got rid of his back row, and John lost quite a few cards in the process.
Now, one problem with that is
He
now
gets
have the ability.
Sean gets the surge for sacrifice.
Yeah.
He still has a monster on the field, whereas Federico is now left with a wind-up kitten in his hand, and that's the only card in his hand.
He's just gone and got a scout.
And yeah, John has everything he needs.
Actually, John has won this game. Simply because now all he needs to do is just go and get something with... Although, has he attacked already, is the question.
No, he didn't attack.
He hasn't attacked yet. So basically all he needs to do is just get something with a pendulum scale of 1, put it in the pendulum zone, pendulum summon, and then just attack for game. Simple as that. But this is the other thing that Qliphort can do. They've got so many tools available to them that they can just keep searching everything out, regardless of how many times you get rid of it. And they just can attack for the win. I'm not quite sure why he's... Are we sure he hasn't attacked there?
Maybe he did attack.
He must have attacked already.
Oh yeah, I think he attacked. No, I thought he was playing the scout in main phase 1 still, and went searching, and then the second fairy unit was activated. That's not what happened. So he attacked with the sacrifice.
Oh yes, he did. He attacked.
And then
he attacked directly with the sacrifice. Yeah. Then the fairy wound was used to stop the attack being so big. That's what it was.
Yeah. All right. So, well, but still, impressive field for John here. Again, so many cards on the field. You always think this is like a deck list or something, but no, this is the field of the Qliphorts. And Federico has the wind-up kitten in hand, and one more card that we don't even have in our app yet, but it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, it was the Valeri Fawn. Yeah. There was really nothing that he was able to do there.
Yeah. So Qliphort does not seem to be the best matchup for his baby Raccoons.
Yeah, baby Raccoons, again, they can be very good. They're extremely good at getting XYZ monsters out extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And they've got all of the rank 2s that you would expect to be able to go from as well. And because they've got the ability to special summon so many monsters so quickly, and a tuner, they're really, really good for getting bigger synchro monsters out as well. But unfortunately, just because of the sheer speed of Qliphort this time round,
there was there was nothing that Federico could do. But he's 2-0 in his very first, 2-1 now in his very first YCS. So still a very decent effort.
He's done very well. It'd be nice to see what he was playing against in the first and second round as well.
I would guess that his matchups against the other popular decks are a lot better than against Qliphort here.
Yeah,
especially with the skill drain in the main deck.
Of course, yeah. I believe that. Yeah. I don't think he's playing He's not actually playing that. But looking at it, he just has a lot of cards that will just stop their opponent. Especially, I'm surprised we didn't see the time space trap hole turn up either, which is very, very good against Qliphort as well.
It's the one trap hole that really deals once and for all with all the pendulum summons, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he also had a bottomless trap hole. There was a lot of actual things to be able to deal with Qliphort that we just didn't see.
So maybe he just didn't draw into the right cards. I mean, that happens, of course. But then again, I give people credit who come with an unexpected deck.
Yeah.
Trying to take advantage of the element of surprise when your opponent is like, oh, I haven't been playing against this in a very long time. And then suddenly you can catch them off guard. And they're like, oh, I didn't see this coming.
Sudden Raccoons.
Yeah. But in this case, I think the Qliphort deck was sitting in a very comfortable position in both games, in fact.
As Qliphort usually does. That's basically the way that it works.
Yeah, quite a few players have said that they think that Qliphort is the strongest out of the 3 decks, interestingly enough. This is an ongoing argument, and I think the only real answer that we're going to get is the metagame breakdown, which we're going to have later today in the written coverage for you guys. We will also have a pie chart ready for the stream, but that's later on after our helpful judges have gone through all of those 1,460 deck lists.
I do not envy.
I don't want to trade with them.
No.
Not
at all.
Some people are like, how can you talk all day? I'm like, well, it's better than sorting deck lists all day.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I look at it. All right. Well, the first game, let's just recap real quick. First game, we saw skill drain proving crucial for John, and when Federico tried to find a way around the skill drain, there was also what was this quick play spell card?
It was a Forbidden Chalice.
Forbidden Chalice, like the mini skill drain.
Yeah, the mini skill drain. The mini skill drain makes things bigger, but unfortunately, when you got something that's so small, it's never a drawback with that.
Yeah. So that wasn't quite enough to attack over the big Qliphort monster on the field that was, with his effect negated, 2,400 attack, which is quite something.
Which is huge. Although then again, there was the whole fact that skill drain wasn't in effect at that point, but that doesn't matter.
It was still 800, 1,800.
It was actually 24 still. What's really interesting about Qliphort is even after they've been negated by skill drain, if the skill drain is no longer there, they still sit on 2,400.
Right. So you just have to...
It does, because their effect is to reduce their attack.
Yeah, so you have to just get rid of it once, of the effect, strip them from the effect once, and then after that you're fine, as long as skill drain doesn't get destroyed in a chain or something.
Yeah.
This could actually play a major role for somebody this weekend, when somebody's not aware of their ruling.
Yeah, it's really, really nice just to be able to fill the field full of monsters that you know after you've increased their attack back up, it's just not going back down.
Yeah, even if your skill drain leaves the field. All right. Well, then the baby Raccoons couldn't put up as much of a showing, as strong as we wanted them to be honest.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing Raccoons again. Because it is... I hate to say it, but it's always the cute decks that I like to play.
Yeah.
I like to see the cute decks. And the cute decks are generally small monsters that can do a lot.
Madolche?
Madolche.
Yeah.
I do love Madolche. Lots of cake.
Lots of cake. Yeah, who doesn't like cake?
Bring out Tiara Masu, which is still a massively good card in this format as well.
Yeah,
simply
but
because it doesn't target as well.
That is true, definitely. But with Vanity's Emptiness being so present all over the place, I think, and so many back row cards that can really hurt the Madolche deck from going off.
That is the problem. That's why we don't see them as much anymore.
Yeah, the back row and the number of cards that tend to stay in the back row are playing a very big role when it comes to choosing which deck to play. I heard that this is the main reason that is speaking against Gladiator Beasts. Gladiator Beasts are really good if they can attack continuously, turn after turn, but they don't. With so many back row cards that just say, no, you're not going to attack, you're going to be sent back to the top of the deck, going to be destroyed.
One of the things that Gladiator Beast has that nothing else has is Gladiator Beast Chariot.
Yeah.
And that War Chariot is just basically able to negate anything.
Well, I would argue that the Satellanites have something almost
they have
same
Satellan over Alpha.
Yeah, and that card can make quite the difference.
Yeah, which also came out in Primal Origins, which is when... As soon as Primal Origins came out, I thought that Gladiator Beasts were going to come back. And I built a Traptrix engine Gladiator Beast deck, which did really, really well and pulled off its combo most of the time, but then just kind of fell down to decks like Hat. Because you'd sit there and you'd make a massive field, and then it'd be like, well, I'll just get rid of it with a... I'll stop you from special summoning that.
Or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because the main kind of idea of it was to get your Augustus out. Augustus then special summons an Augustus, which special summons another Augustus, and then you get something else out, and then you can make something like a Felgrand Dragon.
Right.
So basically just sit there and go, well, I'm not going to get affected by anything anyway, so it doesn't matter. That was the whole kind of idea that the deck was meant to do.
Yeah.
That unfortunately just didn't because, as you said, it couldn't attack. That's the biggest problem. But yeah, you still had Wapaku and Gladiator Beast Defense Tactics.
Another deck that we have seen on one of our deck features that we have, I think, for the first time this weekend, for the first time ever on coverage, was a Yang Sing. And you like it a lot, and you say it's competitive.
Like Yang
Sing, and Matt, I know for a fact that Matt loves it.
Matt does love the Yang Sing.
He adores it. We're going to have that on the stream later on, I think, because we have our eyes on two Yang Sing players in the field.
We are keeping an eye on them. It'd be nice to see whether they are playing the kind of reserved control version of it, or they're playing the
all-out attack.
All-out attack.
Which is the same thing for Qliphort. I spoke to the Greek players, and even inside the Greek community, they are not agreeing on one way to play the deck. So Ioannis Mourelatos, who many of you still remember from YCS Leipzig a few years back, who was playing Insectors in a format where nobody was having Insectors on the map. He's playing Qliphort this weekend with an all-in version. And Nick Bulbasakos, also from Greece, as you can tell by the name, is going for a more conservative approach and biding his time and trying to gain more and more advantage with the Scout Search every turn.
Right. Well, it's an interesting way to do it. I mean, you've got... That is essentially two kind of thrown to my window, which is why you should always say never let the game go too long against Qliphort.
Yep.
Because if they're not doing it in the first turn, then they're going to do it in a turn later on.
They are going to get to that, yeah. It's a deck that can easily bide its time. Another deck that has seen some innovation lately is the Shadola archetype, with one card making all the difference in enemy controller. enemy controller gets rid of, it solves so many problems for Shadol. I've been speaking to quite a few players that say, I got a Burning Abyss deck and it's just so good. He can like beat Shadol all over the place without problems. And then they were like, oh, I now tested against the Shadol version with enemy controller. I got no chance to win.
No.
Just because they get gain control over your Dante, attack with it, and then leave it for you in attack position, which is not something you would like to see.
I don't. If you're attacking with a Dante, it does go to defense.
It does go to defense, but there are ways to make it work to let it leave.
Although if you're hitting, basically what you're looking at is if you're using the enemy controller, you can switch it back to attack.
Right.
That is the other way of doing it. But you can also attribute one of your shadow monsters getting its graveyard effect and then also taking control of it.
Maybe attacking for game or something like that.
Yeah.
They just said that it's causing so much trouble, this one card. And of course, it's being played in threes. And then one guy yesterday came up to me and he said, we went to the vendors. And at the vendors, we get some vendors on site, of course, where you can play single cards in case you couldn't get your hands on all the cards that you need. And they have a pile of common cards. And there's like a full table of common cards, and they're like every pile is like this large. And then there was one pile which was almost gone with like 2 or 3 cards left, and he said, "This is enemy controller."
Yeah.
So you can tell this card is going to make an impact this weekend.
Definitely. I mean, although we haven't seen a shadow deck so far, we've not actually featured
we
did feature one last round.
Yeah,
that just didn't do very
well.
well.
It didn't look like a Shadol deck. It looked like I'm going to sit here and wait for your 6 Samurai to run over me twice.
Yeah. I mean, that was a shame, especially with who it was that was playing.
Yeah, but if there's one guy in the room that can come back from an 0-2 start and go all the way to the top 32, it's Joshua Schmidt.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and Alpay Ingen, because he has actually reportedly done so and won the YCS in the end. Another card that is making an impression and some waves this weekend, I think that's my favorite choke of the weekend, is Denko Seka. Denko Seka is like a cold wave, stops your opponent, or basically stops both players from activating set cards or setting any more spell or trap cards.
Yeah.
We've just seen it making such a big effect it had on that game just now in the feature match with John activating Denko Seka and Federico thinking he was sitting in a comfortable position with so many back row cards, being stripped of all his options.
Yeah, definitely. It's really, really good in John's deck there. You could say that it's clearly a good card.
Yes, and it has spawned an archetype of its own in a way, with some players running just 1, 2, 3 traps and no other traps. Just going with spell cards, like 14 of them, and 15 monsters, and then 1 trap card in that particular case. And they are running 3 copies of Denko Seka in the main deck, and one spectacular tech that they are running is Honest.
Yes.
So when your opponent, you play Denko Seka, you might have 1 back row waiting for that moment when Denko Seka gets destroyed. Your opponent is like, okay, he cannot activate the back row, so I'm going to play Mystical Space Typhoon on it. Attack over Denko Seka after there's all of his protection is gone. And then in that very moment, they
just drop an Honest.
Drop Honest. And it's been effective before, Honest. It's been an important card, but I think this is one of the biggest impressions it can make.
Dropping Honest is my favorite play of all time. It is always hilarious. In fact, during the European Championships, I remember, because the finals was against Lightswarm.
Yeah.
And I just remember me and Matt Bell just throwing our arms up and going, oh, as soon as Honest got dropped. It wasn't even an important play. It didn't matter. He then went on to lose. It was just the fact that Honest had been dropped.
Yeah. Can you imagine that there was a time when Honest was on 3?
Yeah, I remember that. Not fondly.
I've seen some matches that ended in I attack your monster, or I drop 3 Honest.
Yeah.
That was a thing back
ridiculous.
Then. But Lightsworn, speaking of Honest the whole time, Lightsworn is actually still in competition. We have 1 player at least who is sporting a 2-0 record prior to this round, so he's now on either a 3-0 or 2-1 record with Lightsworn, so they might also still be a thing.
If it's around next round,
we might take a closer look at that. Yes.
I do enjoy Lightsworn. Again, but I always enjoyed like the old decks that aren't really doing anything.
Especially
anymore.
The cute ones.
Yeah, especially the cute ones. I mean, Lightsworn isn't as cute, but it's angels
not
and
quite.
stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a thing.
All right. If you've just tuned in, we have a couple of viewers on the stream. It's almost 700 at this time, and it's going to be bound to be more and more with America waking up and checking into the coverage. So let's recap real quick for you. 1,460 players. I will repeat this all day long, to be honest, and I hope no one minds because it's such a big story. The second largest European YCS of all time. Italy putting up so huge numbers.
Yeah.
We do have an international field, of course. I would say there are definitely 300 or more players from all over Europe, but I think that we might have almost a 4-digit number of Italian players.
Probably.
It's just it's the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh nation in Europe at the moment, and well, we will definitely come back if you keep pouring in with so many players.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, we've been
1 year ago in Turin.
Yeah, it was Turin. We've been to Milan. We've been to Rimini because World Championships was in Rimini as well. We actually brought the World Championships to Italy, which was fantastic as well because we had not only the main event that was going on, we had all of the public events, but not only just in public events, which were all free for that day. We just had a lot of people just kind of wandering out the street just to come and learn what was happening. A lot of carnival events and everything like that because it was a celebration of
Italy in the summer is just amazing.
It was really, really nice.
I had some conversations with players this weekend and say I love to go to Italy just for the food.
Yeah, the food is very, very good.
Right. So these are the big stories of the weekend. Second largest event of all time. We got an interesting